Hi, and welcome to Plain Corp's InspireHer interview series, where we talk to real people about their finances to debunk the long-held belief that women shouldn't talk about money while improving financial literacy for women everywhere. I'm Sara Gelsheimer, a senior wealth manager at Plain Corp, and I get to work with individuals, couples, and families every day who want professional guidance on how to invest, budget, and plan their financial success. InspireHer is an initiative we started at Plain Corp back in 2016 to build financial literacy among women after years of firsthand experience witnessing the gender divide when it comes to financial management. Our mission is to inspire financial confidence in all women through education and impactful support. By giving women a platform to be curious, inspire, and be inspired, we hope to empower them to be more confident in their financial lives. So welcome to this episode of Plain Corp's InspireHer interview series. So I'm so excited about today's guest, who is Jill Farmer. I mean, what hasn't she done? But Jill is the author of There's Not Enough Time and Other Lies We Tell Ourselves, a time management bestseller. Jill's expertise has been featured everywhere from the Washington Post to Inc. magazine. Jill travels the U.S. delivering keynotes and teaching her acclaimed programs at top corporations and organizations. She was an Emmy award-winning TV journalist who is now a master certified time and stress management coach. So Jill, welcome.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Sarah. I always love the chance to have any conversation with you, but particularly about today's topic. I think we both have a really shared passion for getting meaningful information to inspire confidence in women so that they can live their dreams through their financial goals.
Great. So before we dive into the good stuff, I always ask a seemingly random question just to give listeners, more insight as to who you are. So if you could go back in time for one day, which day would you choose and why?
Gosh, that's a great question because I tend to be sort of a forward-thinking person. So my whole life, it's always been like, oh, this is the best time in my life. No, I think this is the best time in my life. But I think a day that I would love to live over again and pay a little more attention to it while it was happening is my wedding day, which was now going on almost 29 years ago. And it was such a whirlwind, and there was such a confluence of so many people in my life that have never been together since then or hadn't been all together before then, that I wish I would have just spent a little more time kind of just like not talking, not doing all the things that you do as part of the ritual, but just sort of being in that experience. So that's what comes to mind as you ask me that question.
What a great answer. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. So, Jill, I know I gave a very high level bio for you, but I would love to hear more about you. So where you're from, your line of work, what you do day to day.
Well, I love coaching people around time and stress management issues. And frankly, in the last couple of years, my coaching has taken a direction where a fairly high percentage of my work is actually with physicians in a couple of different forms. So I've been in a relationship with a couple of top medical institutions, two of the top in the United States, including Harvard Medical School, working on a kind of an anti-burnout wellness initiative for physicians as we begin to really identify that burnout is not just something we wish didn't happen to physicians, but it's down the line going to really either create or contribute to healthcare issues for all of us. And particularly in light of the pandemic and the pressurizing situation that our healthcare heroes have been under during that time, it's been a really, really pressurizing time to be a physician. And so that's some of the most meaningful work I do, is working with surgeons and physicians at institutions that are trying to provide better support, better ways of helping them manage time and stress management in order to avoid burnout. And that I do that also as part of an organization, a company founded by a doctor called DocWorking, where I'm one of the lead coaches, and I work with them to help physicians get support in a variety of different areas in their lives. And that also is very meaningful work. And we provide really a support community for physicians who work anywhere in the United States. They don't have to work with a specific institution that works with this, but they can reach out to us directly too. So I find that work meaningful, as well as I do training at all kinds of different companies around time and stress management in everything from financial services to manufacturing. And then I have my wonderful one-on-one clients that I work with individually around just issues in their own life trajectory, happiness, and success.
Sure. Like I said in the intro, I mean, what do you not do, Jill? You cover
There's lots of things I don't do. I'm not very good at anything domestic. So if you need help with sewing, crafts, anything that requires manual dexterity, I'm terrible at all that stuff.
See, that's why we outsource, right? We can outsource to people that is their area of specialty. So I would love to know, I know you've gone a lot of different directions with your business. I would love to hear from you, what's one of the biggest challenges you faced with your business? It can be a financial challenge or otherwise, and how did you overcome it?
Well, for me, my background was as a journalist, right? I was a TV news reporter. I felt very called to that career. That work was very meaningful. It was hard for me. I really stunk at times, but I got a lot better at it to the point where I had some mastery around the career. And then due to some, just life things happening in our family and the age of children and family of origin and parents living really far away, I made the decision to leave that career to kind of stabilize our family unit and make a decision. So I went from a 2-income earning family to a 1-income earning family, which was a challenge for us. And at that time, I kind of looked at my life. What do I want to do? What things are important to me? And I realized that I wanted to do something that was in service of helping people. I wanted to be able to help people in the way that I'd been helped by getting coaching to kind of redirect my life at a time where I was a little unsure about how I wanted that direction to go. And I wanted something that gave me some flexibility, autonomy as well. And so I went back to school, got the training to become a coach, went back again and got master coach training. And I felt so passionate about what I could do to support people and how it fit with my natural talents that I just presumed I'm going to hang up I'm going to put out my, sign on the window, figuratively, of course, sure, and put up my placard, and then the customers would just come rolling in. I just would manage that. And because I'm such, I'm kind of a go-getter person who likes to have an idea, wants to execute on an idea quickly, I didn't think about all of the other components for launching a business that I didn't have expertise in. For instance, accounting or marketing, right? And that was the big thing. It's like, wait, where are the people? I've done the training. I have this great product to offer them. I can do things that are really going to matter. Where is everybody? It's crickets here. And so I had to realize that, it was most important, of course, that I invested in the training and the education to be able to be qualified to do what I was doing. I also needed to invest in some of those other aspects of my business and outsource them because they were not my area of expertise, like marketing and branding, like accounting, so that I had a solid, outside thinking partner that was giving me some advice on those things. And once I did that, I think what I wanted to do was just go make money and then pay for all that stuff. And what I realized is I had to sort of flip the pyramid, so to speak, on that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think a lot of business owners, new business owners in particular, struggle with that aspect of, balancing not having the resources, the monetary resources to hire out, but also not having the personal skills or expertise in these different areas. So it sounds like you were able to outsource those two things right off the bat?
No, I didn't do it immediately. I instead invested in trying to teach myself some of those things. So I wasted a little more time and money before I did it. Then I did that. But yeah, I think, again, I don't want to be an accountant. I didn't ever play one on TV. I'm fairly good at math, but I didn't need to do that. But for some reason, I felt like as an entrepreneur or as a solopreneur, since I wasn't, kind of doing a brick and mortar style business, I presumed that then therefore it was my job to wear all of the hats. And so I've since learned and tried to be a mentor to other people starting a business, particularly like mine, that's somewhat of a virtual, has some virtual nature to it as well. I really tried to to tell them that you do need to get a support team in place. Initially, that's part of gathering that capital to be able to move forward. Because if you're trying to just do it, assume the money will come in and then do those things, you end up spinning your wheels, burning yourself out, and or wasting the resources you use to get there because you can't get to the next spot.
Yeah, that's such great advice that I'm sure, like I said, I know that's a common struggle among business owners. So hopefully that's been well received when you've passed that along to others who are, don't have to go through the same experience that you did, hopefully.
Well, and there's this place, sometimes I run into people that are waiting, that are a little bit different than me, and that they're waiting for everything to line up perfectly as well. I want to have complete certainty. I want to have way more than enough money already in the bank. I want to know that I can be perfect at this and that there's no chance that it's going to fail. And so I think that's the place that we all have to come to, is we got to be willing to be uncomfortable. I mean, we are jumping off the deep end, off the high dive into the deep end here anytime you're launching a new business. It's just, what can we do to make sure that we're jumping into the deepest, cleanest, clearest water we can? And that's by taking some of those, getting prepared enough that you're putting yourself in a situation to succeed.
Yeah, such great advice. And as you know, with your line of work, trying to wear too many hats or do too many things does lead to burnout, which, is something we all hope to avoid.
Yeah, it really does.
So I'd love to change gears a little bit and talk about, more on the personal side. If you'd be willing, can you share any of your personal financial struggles that you've had and how you've overcome those?
Well, I think for, I've been in a marriage for, as I said, 29 years. And as many things that my husband and I share in terms of values, like every couple and every partnership, we are two individual human beings coming into this. And so when we first got married, we don't have some of the spending pattern challenges that I know some couples do, where somebody's a spender and somebody's a saver. Mm-hmm. That would have been simpler in some ways because we would have clear-cut rules. For us, we were both a little bit on or at least we perceived ourselves both as being fiscally responsible, but we had real different ideas about where that fiscal responsibility, who needed to be saving what and who needed to be spending money on what. And then because it is in a relationship, right, it gets personal, and then it becomes about personalities and about personality flaws and behavior flaws. And so we realized early on in our marriage that we needed some outside support to have a trusted thinking partner and to have a wealth manager. Hello, Sara Gelsheimer, to be that trusted thinking partner in the relationship, to be able to say, yep, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And to a lot of times saying both of you guys are right, but you've made it into a competing, or, you've turned this into a tug of war, when really we need to just put this into a weaving project and weave this rope together into something a little bit different when it comes to spending and saving priorities and those kinds of things. And so I think that definitely can be a financial challenge. And for me and my business, because I do tend to be a quick start, and I tend to be somebody who, likes to learn. I had to understand that there was a point where I need to reinvest some money in my business and my continued education and my continued growth and continuing to stay on top of what's happening. But I don't need to keep reinvesting everything in yet another course that's going to somehow fix me or make me into something that I'm not now. Sure. And that was, I'd say, something that I had with the help of a coach to help me recognize after in the first 3 to 5 years of my business that maybe that was a pattern that I'd gotten into, that was where I was spending money that I could slow down on a little bit and trust that I had some ability to create some revenue without going to take another course on how to better create revenue.
Yeah, I hear you. So I would love to hear, it sounds like you and your husband have figured out, 29 years together, figured out a good system. I'm always curious to hear what roles do each of you play with regard to your financial lives?
So I am the sort of a family accountant, and again, I'm not a real accountant, but I'm bookkeeper. I do the daily bookkeeping, keeping track of where money is going. I tend to be not over. I have a little bit of OCD tendencies around things, and so for me, it feels really comfortable to, this is going to date me, but to balance my checkbook every day, which I do, and to track spending and to have a budget and to, just pay the bills. That's something that feels comfortable for me to have awareness of. And he doesn't love that stuff and is a very busy attorney. And so at different times when we would kind of try to trade off or share some of those, it would create tension for me because I was like, is everything getting kept? I mean, are we keeping up with everything? And so for us, pretty early on, we learned that was that I would be the kind of day-to-day money manager, if you will. And then he and I are really intentional a few times a year about sitting down. What's our money doing? What are our goals? How are we doing on our budget? In 2020, we did great on our travel budget. In 2021, we realized we needed a much bigger one. And so we're making adjustments because we have a little bit of rebound. But I think that really works well for us. He has very strong awareness of kind of where our big picture and our investments and what our choices are on things. And we were on the same page, saving for our kids' education and our philosophy. We're 1 year away from being done with college tuition. So
a huge accomplishment there.
Yes, I know. As you have your two little ones now, you're just recognizing that. And that's one thing we did. We started early, right? We started when they were itty bitties. And so paying for college is no joke, but we were so grateful that we did start that process early enough that when it came time to pay for college, there were some resources there to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys have obviously, like I said, set up a really good system for yourselves. I love that you guys are intentional a couple of times a year to sit down and think about, okay, what is our money doing for us? Because I think so many people view money as, okay, is it growing? Like, what's the return been? But really, at the end of the day, the money is a means to an end, right? Money is there to help us live the life we want, to, use it in a way that makes us happy. So I love that you guys spend dedicated time talking about that. I always like to talk about or encourage people to have money dates, to go out to dinner, make that your excuse to go out to dinner and pull out some spreadsheets and look at all of that. I mean, thankfully, my husband's an Excel nerd like me, so I don't have to twist his arm to look at spreadsheets. But I commend you guys for doing that and doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah, we're not quite at Gelsheimer level. We're not actually doing this dates, but we are trying to keep, we do assign things out. It's like, I think it's maybe time to shop our insurance. And so he might take on that task, but we try to be more aware. When our kids were younger and life was busy, we just had a few moments where we're like, our money, we could kind of, it's a coping mechanism, right? I recognize it from my work. Things are stressful, not really sure what the money picture is. And so rather than dive into it and make me feel more stressful if I'm not there, it starts to get pushed away. And then the consequences of that are often way worse than sitting through that discomfort and saying, okay, what's actually happening with our money? How have we made that adjustment from a two income to a one income family, or, when resources are being distributed, for instance, to start up a business, in my case, as we did 12 years ago, what does that look like? And, that's I think that has, have we had fights about it? Have we gotten uncomfortable about it? Have we made mistakes? Yes, all of the above. Have we learned from those mistakes? Have we gotten more comfortable with just being fully aware and feeling neutral about whatever is happening, regardless? Yeah, and I think that's important.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, as you know, the more you tackle the scary, right, the uncomfortable, the more comfortable you become. So clearly, you guys are a living testament to that. So I know you guys have 2 daughters, correct? And I would love to hear, have you and your husband done anything intentional about, raising them to be, good with money, or done anything intentional with regard to them with, finances?
Yeah, we tried to be. We both grew up in families that were with very educated and wonderful parents who chose service-oriented vocations, including education and ministry and other things that did not garner large salaries. And so we both, my husband and I, were in situations where we needed to help cover the cost of our, for instance, higher education, which we were able to do, and help pay for our wedding, all of our own cars, those kinds of things. And so we had a sense like through a different set of vocational choices, not because we're better people or everybody, we were in a situation where we knew we were going to be able to provide education and some things for our kids, but we both felt like the self-esteem that we gained from being self-made was unbelievably helpful in terms of confidence, in terms of trusting in ourselves, even in challenging situations. So we tried from an early age to encourage them to look for ways to earn their own money and to make their own money decisions. And I tried to, I knew I have a lot of friends and I love them all, but to me, they're very intertwined in their young adult children's, in their fiscal lives, and they know every expense they're making on the shared credit card or debit card in high school and in college. And I felt like those mistakes were my girls to make. Now I would be here to support them and to answer them, but I wanted them to have that understanding of you're earning money. Let's think about how you're going to spend the money. We got them interested in investing. We have good family friends who are really into investing, and it became a little bit of a hobby of like, oh, if I put this money in, how much is it going to be? So they both had started some of their own investing by the time they were in high school. They both made mistakes, and they'll say later, why was I thinking that was a good idea to spend my money on that? And that to me is part of life. It's part of learning. It's not that you make financial mistakes. It's what you learn from those financial mistakes so that you can hopefully not repeat them again. So I do believe strongly, and I wanted them to think of being independent. I hope they're in meaningful relationships, just like we've been fortunate, their parents have been fortunate enough to be in. And I wanted them to be able to be financially independent, either within those relationships or on their own. And I think they're headed in that direction, as one's, working independently for a few years now. And I think it's working well. And we kind of started early too. We said we have the means to, for instance, pay for medical insurance or those other things, but I think it's good to pay your own cell phone bill and medical insurance as a young working adult. And I know that's scary for some parents because they're like, no, I don't want them to spend that money on that because I want them to save or invest. But I think those are good choices to have to make. Yeah. For better, for worse. That's been our philosophy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that's fantastic. I love what you said about, sometimes they need to make their own mistakes. I feel like a lot of parents are worried about letting their kids make any kind of mistakes. We want to shelter them from anything harmful, which is, of course, good intentions. But I think, like you said, the amount of confidence and character building that happens when you fall down and you get back up is, priceless. So that's so fantastic.
Yeah, and not to be too armchair psychologist about it, but there is this thing that when our parents believe that they have to micromanage us, the message that we receive as kids often is, oh, I guess I'm not really capable of this. And the parents are just trying to help, but there's this weird, and so then when push comes to shove and there's this underlying belief that maybe they're not capable, sometimes that creates anxiety, which then makes more likely that you're going to make bad decisions. And so the over functioning, ironically, can sometimes disempower your kid from really making smart financial decisions because they're insecure about it, because they've gotten the message that they're really not capable of doing it. So anyway, that's a side note.
So interesting. It makes sense, though. Absolutely makes sense. So I would love to know, part of the reason why I started InspireHer was really to help give women a platform, a safe place to ask money questions. Because I feel like, I've just been a witness in lots of meetings where, sometimes it seems as though the female in the room may not feel quite comfortable enough to ask questions. So I would love to know, are there any financial questions you wish you would have asked earlier in life that maybe hearing, someone as successful as you, saying, okay, well, here's a question I would have asked. Maybe it would give other women confidence to ask that question as well.
I think, when we very first got married and very first started investing, I'd taken one econ class in college, and I was pretty naive about how the stock market worked and how, understanding there was terminology, stock options and things in terminology that was being used that was really going over my head. So two things happened. One, I was a reporter and I would, go research stuff on my own. And then later, when I first left TV News, I worked in financial services doing some information reporting for inside of a large investment firm. And so I learned a ton then. But I was like, oh, why didn't I just pause and say, in those meetings with the financial planner, or as other friends were talking about, the decisions they were making and what they were investing in, and even some of real estate stuff. Because, honestly, I grew up in a parsonage, so I didn't know much about real estate transactions because we just lived in the house that was provided for us. So I wish I would have been a little braver to just say, I don't understand what this means. And that would have been helpful to me. I even let my girls explain things to me. That one is a business minor, one's a business major. And so now I'm quicker to say, wait, I don't understand what that means. And I wish I would have been brave enough to do that earlier on.
Yeah, well, that's so great. Yeah, I think that's one of my pet peeves with a lot of financial advisors in the industry is that, the thought is, okay, if I talk in lots of lingo and really complex words that nobody understands, they'll assume I know what I'm talking about and trust me with their money. Whereas I think, to me, that is my job, is to educate people and explain it in a way that makes sense to them. So, hopefully people feel comfortable to say, wait a minute, can you explain that maybe in a different way or elaborate on that because I didn't understand? So I'm hoping more and more women will be brave to just ask the question, men and women. I mean, I think there are a lot of men that don't understand it, but of course feel like they should and don't ask the question as well.
Right. And I think that's such a great thing. Yeah. If every financial planner in the world, every time somebody did ask for a question for an explanation, would write that down and say, oh, this person has told me that what this term we were using is jargon. And so anytime I'm using jargon, I need to back it up with a short explainer sentence. And it's just a really great way for all of us to communicate. We use jargon almost as an armor of self-importance, as you said. It's certainly not only the financial service, the wealth management industry that does that. But what we have to realize is that jargon is meant to be exclusive, not meant to inform. And I think that's what we want to, that's a really great intention on your part. And I would have had more wealth literacy had I been brave enough to be like, I'd like a definition, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So one final closing question for you. I always find this question really fascinating. I think it tells a lot about people. So what is your first money memory?
Oh my gosh. I can remember that my very first money memory, I think I was in second grade, and I got a blue wallet for my birthday, and I got $7 from whoever was giving me birthday money. And I remember going down to the 5 and dime store in my very small town. And for some reason, when I was walking around that store, I decided to take the money out of the wallet and hold it in my hand and just to have it as I was walking around the store. And lo and behold, when it came time to go pay, I lost the money.
Oh, no.
So I had to go back home and say, I didn't get to buy anything with my $7. And to me, of course, at that time, $7 was like $1 million. So that's my very first money memory, is losing the $7 from my blue wallet at Harrison's 5 and dime.
Oh my gosh, how sad. Well, is there any last, word you give or any piece of advice that you would give to any listener, about money and anything in particular you want to leave with everybody?
Well, I just want to say that I think that the more that we can learn, the more candid we can be with each other about the things that went well and the things that didn't go so well. And that the better we can be at using our wealth for good. And that's another thing that I just wanted to say is my husband and I are passionate about our community, the city we live in, the lack of equity and opportunities for people in our community. And so one of the things that has been the most satisfying at this phase of life as a 52-year-old is not necessarily just watching the bank account or the stock portfolio grow, be able to make significant contributions in ways that we know are helping in the areas and organizations that are doing a lot to turn the tide and provide particularly equitable opportunities for children in our community. And so that feels really good to me. That's a great motivator for me in wanting to continue my own financial literacy and our ability to make the money we have work for us.
It's great. That's so fantastic. Well, Jill, I can't thank you enough. You've been so great to have on the podcast, shared so many great stories, and I sincerely appreciate it. So thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.